Let's get some more reaction on that story in relation to arrest warrants being sought for the Israeli Prime Minister, but also 3 senior figures of the Hamas terrorist group. Director of Public Affairs at the Zionist Federation, Dr. Bren Carlill, joins me. Bren, you must welcome the comments made by Mr. Dutton today in Melbourne.
Yeah, look, his assessment of the ICC's decision is very fair. It's an appalling decision, which really it's a manifestation of a court that has allowed itself to become politicised. We're seeing from this court an overreach in terms of jurisdiction, in terms of due process. We're seeing the court break its own constitution, and we're seeing the court use arguments that an undergrad could defeat. It's an appalling decision, which is going to cause irreparable damage to the court's reputation. Very pleased with what Mr. Dutton said.
Mr. Dutton described it as an anti-Semitic move. Is that a fair analysis from him?
I don't want to get into the motivations of the ICC's prosecutor, but it's probably fair to make some observations in that, next door to Israel is Syria, which over the past 10 years, 500,000 Syrians have been killed in the Syrian civil war. The Syrian president launched chemical weapons against his own people. He used starvation as a tactic. He used barrel bombs and indiscriminate attacks in marketplaces. But the ICC hasn't said a word about Syria. China is committing a genocide against the Uyghurs. The ICC is not saying a word about China. But what they are saying something about is Israel, which is involved in a very complex conflict with Hamas. But Israel is an army, and this is what I think is the key danger to Australia and to Western countries about this whole decision. Israel is a rule of law.
Yeah. And it's a democracy and a country that, as you say, follows the rule of law. But I guess just drilling into the way that this announcement's been made, one of the criticisms from the German leader through to the Italian and others is the fact that the warrants or the attempt to issue arrest warrants has been announced in the same statement. The 3 terrorists alongside the 2 Israeli leaders. And that's the equivalence that's been repudiated by the German leadership through to Joe Biden at the White House. Is that the fundamental thing here that is most... That needs to be condemned the strongest in your view, given that sense of moral equivalence by issuing the statement on the same day?
No, I mean the sense of moral equivalence and issuing the statement on the same day is appalling, and it's chasing publicity, but it's not actually the worst the worst thing about this. The fact that the court has the key issue of the court is the principle of complementarity, which means if a country, the ICC is a court of last resort. It only steps in when a country's judicial system is unwilling or unable to investigate and prosecute war crimes within its own area, right? Now, the Israeli High Court is currently investigating the situation of humanitarian aid going into Gaza. And the ICC's entire case, well, not entire case, but the majority of its accusations about Israel is in regards to humanitarian aid. So the ICC is not allowing Israel to investigate properly, which is a key part. Article 17 of the Rome Statute, which is the ICC's constitution. In their rush for publicity, in their politicization of the court, they're breaking their own rules. I think that is one of the worst factors in this whole situation.
And the Prime Minister's comment that he doesn't remark on court cases, whether they be in Australia or international.
Look, hopefully that's just a result of the Prime Minister not being fully briefed. Australia has previously told the ICC that it does not have jurisdiction in this issue. That was a submission made by the Australian government under Scott Morrison to the ICC. It's accurate. The ICC doesn't have jurisdiction, and so I would argue that would be the Australian government's position going forward, and I'm hopeful that the current government will make the same statement.
Bren Carlill from the Zionist Federation of Australia, appreciate your time. Thanks.
Pleasure.